Hey everybody. Today, actually tonight, it's about 12:30 a.m. right now. Tonight, I thought we would do a review of Dario Argento's Inferno. Um, it's a weird movie. It's a really weird movie. I've seen it probably 4 times now, about 4 times. And every time I watch it, it's a movie that when I first saw it, I didn't like it at all. And I've seen it 3 times since, and I still don't really like it that much. But I think I've got the movie now. There's some movies out there that you see once, you see them twice, and you still kind of think, well, did I like that movie? Did I not like that movie? I don't know. There's a lot of movies like that. The first Evil Dead I've seen that movie probably 10 times or more. I still kind of feel like I don't know if I like that movie or not. I know I like Evil Dead 2 and I like Army of Darkness a lot. I like both of those movies. Love both of those movies. But that first one, Evil Dead, I've got a lot of good memories of watching it in high school with my friends out at a deer cabin in the middle of the woods. Got a lot of good memories watching it, but I don't know if I just really love that movie a lot. Inferno is kind of that way too. I've seen it 4 times, and I don't think I like this movie, and I am pretty sure that I don't like this movie right now. Another movie that I was that way with and went the opposite way was John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. I've seen Prince of Darkness probably 4 or 5 times also, and the first time I saw it, I didn't like it at all. Second time I liked it, or the second time I saw it, I liked it a little more. The third time, and the fourth time I think I watched it with my wife. And I finally kind of got that movie, and kind of really finally kind of, the story clicked, the events clicked, it all came together, and I was kind of like, okay, I kind of get what he was going for with this one. Inferno's the same way. I've seen it now a lot, and I think this final viewing, I just finished it just a few minutes ago. This final viewing of it, I think at this point, I have a good idea of what Inferno is supposed to be. I believe that I understand what the story was supposed to be. I believe I understand what this movie is. And I have to say that having come to that point, my final conclusion is that I still don't really like it that much. There's 2 big reasons for that. One, everybody talks about how just beautiful this movie is. For the life of me, I don't really know where they're getting that from. This to me is, first off, let me just say, first off, Inferno is a sequel to Suspiria. If you've never seen Suspiria, you need to go watch that one, and I would suggest finding a good transfer of it on a Blu-ray or something like that, because Suspiria is a really good movie. I really like Suspiria a lot. The music is great in it. Matter of fact, the music in Suspiria might be the redeeming factor of it. What takes it over the top of being not just a good movie, but a great movie. The music is really good in it. Cinematography, art direction, all this, just overall style of that movie. You can really tell Argento was at the top of his game with Suspiria. This is a sequel to Suspiria. And one of the reasons I don't care for this movie that much is because it just doesn't look nearly as good as Suspiria did. Suspiria, you watch Suspiria for the colors. I know that sounds silly, but that movie has, every room in that movie is painted some kind of a bright color. All the backgrounds in the movie are some kind of a wild design of some kind. There's a lot of really artful violence. And it's like, everything in the movie is everything in it is just, it seems like it was thought of from an artful perspective. everything in it. This isn't really that. This is just, everybody talks about how good this movie looks. I don't think it does, and the reason is because everything in this movie is just red and blue. It's just red and blue. Everything in it is red and blue. There's a little bit of green every now and then, but it's mainly just red and blue, and that's it. That's all it is. And everybody talks about how beautiful it is. It's just red and blue. The cover is red and blue. That's all. That's everything. And you look at the back of it. It's red and it's blue and it's red and it's blue. That's the entire color palette of this movie is red and blue, and that's it. There is a little bit of green, but not a whole lot in it. So it's not as artfully proficient and as Suspiria was. So that's kind of one reason why I don't like it, because it's coming off of Suspiria. It's kind of a letdown. The other reason I don't like it is because narratively this movie is a mess. It is a mess narratively. This is a movie, and you don't see a whole lot of movies that do this, but in this movie, there really is no protagonist. There's no protagonist in this stupid thing. The closest thing you get to a protagonist is the character of Mark. But the way things happen in this movie, Mark has no clue that anything is happening through the entire movie. The entire movie is Mark waiting for his sister to show up at the apartment building. That's it. And here, we'll just go through a brief little story of this. Okay, the Suspiria series, there's 3 of them, is based on the idea that there are 3 big covens of witches in the world, right? There's one in Rome, there's one in Germany, and there's one in New York. Suspiria took place in Germany, so that was the coven of witches in Germany. This is about the coven of witches in New York. And it starts out with a girl in New York who kind of discovers the coven of witches, and she writes a letter to her brother Mark. Mark never really gets the letter. He gets pieces of the letter because the letter was torn up by one of the witches, right? So he never really gets the letter, but he does go to New York to try to talk to his sister, because he knows that his sister was very upset about something. He spoke with her over the phone. So he goes to New York to talk to her, but he never gets to talk to her. He never reads the letter. Most of the time in this movie, he is really just kind of walking around waiting on his sister to show up. And even at the end of the movie, I'm trying not to really give away many spoilers, but even at the end of the movie, when it all comes into place for us, the viewer, what's been going on, to him, he's still in the dark because he doesn't even know anybody has been killed in the movie. He doesn't know that there are any witches in there. He knows nothing about anything. He literally sees the head witch at the end of the movie, or not the head witch, but their architect. He runs into that guy and is still asking, so where's my sister at? Is she coming back? What's she been doing? You know anything? We're like 5 minutes from the movie being over, and this guy is still asking where his sister is because he has no clue that anybody has died. He has no clue that anything has gone on. He has been just sitting around doing nothing through the whole movie. And so, narratively, you really don't have a protagonist in this movie. You've got just random characters doing things until they die. You've got a girl who, she goes to school with Mark. She sees that letter because Mark leaves it in class. She sees that letter that Mark's sister sent, and she's reading it, and she decides to investigate herself. She's in Rome, so she actually goes to investigate the coven of witches that are in Rome. She gets killed, and the letter gets to Mark at that point, but it's been torn up. So there's like the first 40 minutes of the movie right there. I guess I am giving away spoilers at this point. Spoiler alert. And so then Mark goes to New York to try to see what's going on with his sister, and while he's sitting off in the corner not doing anything and waiting, a guy who sells books next to the apartment building where the Coven of Witches is, this guy sells books. He's mean to some cats that belong to the witches, so the witches kill him. There's a lady that lives in the apartment building. It's Daria Nicolodi, who's normally great in Dario Argento's movies. In this one, she's okay, but she's kind of underused because the character isn't around for very long. She's a very weird character. She shows up for a little bit. You don't really know what the story is with her, but she dies before too long, and so there's no big deal there either. And so characters just kind of come and go in this movie. The main character just doesn't do anything and has nothing to do with the resolution to the story. The resolution to the story is a complete random chance event that has nothing to do with anything. It's like it's what you call, I guess, a Deus Ex Machina. And the protagonist, Mark, doesn't have anything to do with this Deus Ex Machina, and is literally still walking around in the movie while the ending is happening around him. The building is on fire. Spoilers again. The building is on fire. He's literally walking around, you know, still trying to ask people, where's my sister? Have you seen my sister? Where's she at? Meanwhile, the building is literally burning around him. So the movie's literally coming to a close, and this guy still doesn't know what's going on. Still has no clue that anything weird is happening. So I think that narratively, it's a weird, bad movie. There are movies out there where the narrative doesn't make a lot of sense, but the you know, the art style or the story itself or whatever kind of overcomes it. Movies like that come to mind are Suspiria, a movie that didn't make a lot of sense, but it was impactful enough that you didn't really care. Another movie like that is Phantasm. Phantasm doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, but it feels like a nightmare, kind of like Inferno and Suspiria are supposed to. And so Phantasm pulls it off. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a scary movie, it's an interesting movie, and I think it's a great movie. Inferno doesn't really do that. I mean, Inferno, the narrative is weak, and the colors are not nearly as good or impressive as in Suspiria. Remember in Suspiria where Jessica Harper's walking down the hallway, and there's like this lady sitting in the she's sitting in the hallway watching her go by, and she's got like a little kid with her, and she's got like a knife in her hand, and she turns the knife and it catches the light just right, and you can see the dust particles in the air light up, and that's when the music from Goblin kicks in, and it's just like, whoa, I don't even know what's going on, but this is a freaky scene. There's not really anything like that in Inferno. I think another reason this movie isn't great is because Keith Emerson did the music in it, and he is not Goblin. Goblin did a lot of the music for Dario Argento, and it normally worked really well. Tenebrae, Phenomena, Suspiria, all of those are just really good. In this one, Keith Emerson, it's more of a traditional score, or at least a lot of it is, but there's also some stuff in it that is just really dated and weird and ill-used. There's a scene in the film where a guy is eaten by rats. It's the bookkeeper that is mean to the cats. And when he's dead, the music has a positive tone. Like all the chords, I think, are major chords. So it has a positive tone like, he's dead now. We've done it, everybody. And it's kind of weird that they play that music for this guy because he's getting his head hacked off by a guy with a butcher knife while he's getting eaten by rats. And the music is just so pleasant. It's just kind of a weird, it's a weird musical cue. But all these things I've picked up finally on this viewing of Inferno. Like I said, before, the first few times I watched it, I was just kind of taking it in. And it was like, I didn't like it, but I didn't quite know why. But with this viewing, I think I've got it, and I don't care for it. It's not a bad movie. I wouldn't have watched it 4 times if I thought it was a bad movie. but it's not really good either, and it's definitely not my favorite Argento movie at all. Suspiria probably is his best movie, or Deep Red, or something like that. Yeah, Inferno. Check it out. A lot of people seem to like this one. I seem to be in the minority for people that don't like it. One more thing I'd like to say is that in the movie there is a pretty neat and interesting set piece where they find an underground room and it is flooded with water. It happens at the beginning of the movie, so it's not much of a spoiler. But that is probably one of the neatest parts of Inferno, is the girl finding that underwater room. And I think it's kind of interesting because that seems to, almost a theme in Argento's movies, but kind of also not really. But he did the same thing in Deep Red. In Deep Red, a guy is investigating a house and discovers a hidden room. A room where the door had been made into a wall so that no one would ever see it again. And he finds that and knocks the wall down and opens up this room full of dead people. And in this movie, this girl discovers a room that's been flooded with water and is also full of dead people. So I kind of thought that was an interesting parallel between those two movies. It's always an interesting idea. I always think of the Goonies. Thanks for watching. Go out and watch Inferno. Let me know what you think about it. And if you've seen all of Argento's work, tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm being wrong. Tell me if I'm being an idiot here or what I'm missing, honestly, because I would always rather like a movie than dislike it. So just let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Ciao.